Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we are looking at the Game 4 NBA Finals Showdown picks for Draftkings and FanDuel. We've got a couple more games left of the NBA season. Hopefully, this series is able to stretch to at least 6 or 7 games. But Boston is looking to go up 3-1 tonight at home. We'll see if Steph Curry and company have something to say about it. So let's go ahead and get into it. As always, if you enjoyed the video, appreciate it. Hit the like button, subscribe if you have not already. Starting off just by looking at the pricing, so Tatum is your most expensive player. He's a couple $100s more than Steph Curry. He played pretty well last game. Jaylen Brown started off the game really hot, and then Tatum, had a much better second half and finished with almost 50 fantasy points. Once again, had his second big assist game with 9 assists last game. Steph Curry has a Q tag on him, but there's not any concern with him. He said he's gonna play. He did avoid could have been bad the way that he stepped on Al Horford's foot, but he ended up playing very well in the second half, dealt with some foul trouble early, which limited him to 37 minutes instead of probably playing over 40. But today, expect Steph Curry to play over 40 minutes. They're on the road. They need to win this game just to have a better chance of stretching the series out. They definitely don't want to go down 3-1. It's tough to see them winning 3 straight games, even though 2 of those would be at home. But I do like Curry a lot today. I think he's going to have one of his best games of the playoffs and probably drop like over 30, 35 points, real life points, and maybe fill up the other stat sheets as well. Jaylen Brown has had 2 solid games out of the 3. Started off really well, finished with 48. He could have had like 60 if he was playing as well as he did in the first quarter for the whole game. Played 40 minutes though. Tatum and Brown are just going to play their massive minutes. I do prefer Tatum though over Jaylen Brown. And then I think Smart, he typically does play a little bit better at home and kind of carried that trend. He plays with a lot of energy and gives them a lot on the defensive end. In last game, he took 17 shots. So after having a poor game, in Golden State in game number 2, he bounced back in a big way. He still plays still turnovers have been an issue for him in the last couple of games. Sometimes he makes some dumb passes, but he definitely gives them their best shot of playing aggressively on the defensive end and getting up into Curry's face and getting up to Klay Thompson's face, even though they're still shooting at a very high percentage. You got to consider going with Marcus Smart. Al Horford only played 30 minutes last game because even though he was playing decent, but he was getting absolutely demolished in the pick and roll situations, letting Curry get off to just an insane start in the third quarter. And so they took him out midway through the third, and he played 30 minutes. Could have played more, probably will play more a little bit in this game, but Robert Williams as well was giving them just so much on the defensive end that they ended up going to Robert Williams more late in the game, and Williams ended up playing 25 minutes after playing 14 the game before. He's probably still going to be in that range, but we also saw Looney play less minutes, and I think that will probably continue just because they're going to want to go a little bit smaller with Draymond at the 5 and have Poole out there or have Otto Porter out there, who both guys can really hit the 3. I do like Draymond today. I think he's going to have a big game in terms of just getting you the fantasy points. Wouldn't be surprised if it gets you like close to 40 fantasy points today. He's getting crushed in the media. He feels it himself. He talked about it after the game that he's not playing well at all in this series, and he's supposed to be a part of their big 3. Hasn't played like it. I do think that will change today. Expect a pretty good game from Draymond. So he's definitely one guy I want to plug in at $6,800. And now that don't know how many minutes Looney will play after playing the 17 last game, it's easy to get to Draymond instead. You can get up to Wiggins or Thompson as well. They're a little bit more expensive, but personally I think Draymond could become a little bit less owned than those guys just with how much more consistent Wiggins has been than Draymond, and Klay Thompson's coming off of a very good game. And then value-wise, kind of just looking at Gary Payton, although he didn't play too much minutes, so these rotations have been a little bit tough to kind of nail down. He only played 11 minutes last game after playing 25 the game before, but it seems like they're going to be going a bit smaller, so I don't think that Looney will play more than 20, 25 minutes at all. Maybe won't even get to 20 today if they decide to do what they did last game. But Grant Williams was a guy that played well for Boston off the bench, and they were doing great in terms of just getting rebounds and crushing Golden State in that department. And he's going to play around 20 minutes or so, with them limiting some of the minutes on Robert Williams, and if Horford is going to get crushed again in the pick and roll situations, then I think they'll go to Grant Williams, and at $4,400, he makes some sense as a value pick. I also like Otto Porter a bit at 48. with the 20 minutes or so that he's going to play, can get up to like 23, 24. Doesn't take a lot of shots, but whatever shots he does take, he seems like he has a high percentage of making them. Usually open shots, and he can get you some defensive stats. He's been shooting really well this whole playoffs and can get you some assists and a couple rebounds. And then for 1,000 more, you can get to Jordan Poole. So I don't mind getting to Poole instead of Otto Porter. Usually Poole might give you the higher ceiling. Play a couple more minutes than Otto Porter as well. So we'll see what kind of builds we can make doing something like this. We'll probably have to go cheaper at captain. So if we plug in like a Marcus Smart here, we're left with 10,650. Plug in Steph Curry. You're gonna miss out on getting to both Curry and Tatum here. So instead of Poole, we would be looking at getting to Otto Porter instead. So I definitely want to have Curry and Tatum in my lineup together, and just think both best players on their respective teams in a big game 4. Going up 3-1 to having it tied 2-2 is going to be a big swing in the series. So expect huge minutes out of these guys, and you get to some decent value with Grant Williams and Otto Porter Jr., and you still get to a solid guy with Marcus Smart at captain, who can fill up this point. Sometimes he's a little bit risky, but that still makes a decent captain play, because on his best games he's going to drop over 40, or even can get you more than that if he's playing really well. So this is one option to look at. We also saw a pretty poor game from Derek White last game. Just didn't shoot well, but he's still a guy that I would have, just because if he is playing well, he's going to get the minutes, and he can quickly get those points by hitting some threes and getting you some rebounds and assists. And then Robert Williams would be a guy I would prefer over Looney at this point. He's been playing he played well last game with almost a double-double, but he had 7 stocks, and that's something that is not new for him. He continues to just crush in the blocks department. We'll see if we can make a lineup with like Tatum at captain or Curry at captain. Curry's a little bit cheaper if we do Curry. Tatum here. Still try to get to Marcus Smart. Get Draymond Green. We're left with 38.50, so we'll probably have to go with like Peyton here, and then put in like Grant Williams. Still getting to a 3-3 approach, which is probably what I like. Last game was pretty close for most of it, and then last couple of minutes, Boston pulled away, but it wasn't like it was a blowout entering the fourth quarter. But they didn't play the last couple of minutes, which wasn't surprising because it was like a 15-point game at that point. This is another build that you can definitely consider. If you don't want to, if you make one couple lineups without Marcus Smart here, you can go with like a Wiggins. I always have liked Wiggins this entire postseason. And if you're not feeling Draymond, you can get up to Klay Thompson, something like that. We have 49 left, so instead of Grant Williams, you could plug in Otto Porter, but that's going to be very heavy on the Golden State side. I do think Golden State will win this game, and I do believe we'll be tied to 2 apiece entering game number 5. And then one final build we'll look at is going to be, let's do one with Tatum at captain with Curry. I do like Smart over Horford. This will play more minutes than Horford today, and Horford can get you big fantasy games, but if Robert Williams is going to play some more minutes, just some maybe less rebounding opportunities for Horford, and Robert Williams will get you those blocks and steals that Horford can get, but you're not going to have 2 centers playing huge minutes together. This would probably be my core 4. You can flip-flop the captain if you want to put in like Smart, or you want to go with like Curry here, but I would definitely have Tatum, Curry, Marcus Smart, Draymond would be the 4 that I'm looking at. I think Draymond's going to surprise and probably have one of his better games of the playoffs, which isn't much considering how poor he's been, but that's what I got for you guys over on DraftKings. Go ahead now and take a look at FanDuel. All right, on FanDuel, Steph Curry is 500 more than Tatum, but I'm still going to be looking to get to both in my same lineup, so it just depends who you want to play at MVP. Curry had a really good third quarter. If we can continue that like the whole game, that'll be awesome, but he was also in some foul trouble early on, so that probably messed up his rhythm, but he quickly found that in the second half. But whether you're putting Curry at MVP or Tatum at MVP, I'm going to have either one of those guys, definitely. And leaves us with $9,500 left. And on FanDuel, maybe a different story. Getting to Draymond, it feels like they think that Draymond might have a better game than usual. They have him priced at $13,000, so it's tougher for me to justify when I can get to Klay Thompson for $3,000 less, or get to Marcus Smart, who's only $10,500. Now, if we plug in Smart, plug in Klay Thompson, we're left with $8,000, and that leaves us with being able to get to Otto Porter here, being able to get to Grant Williams, being able to get to either Gary Payton if we wanted to do that, or if we wanted to try to get to Robert Williams here, we'll have to go a little bit cheaper. So instead of Klay Thompson, you're going to be looking at like a Jordan Poole. instead. But I'm not going to look to 11,000 Looney at all. Horford looks okay, but I like Smart for 1,000 less, and I don't think I'll be able to get to Draymond at that price tag. But definitely looking at Curry, Tatum, and then I do like the value that you can get to with a Marcus Smart at only 10.5, and then that leaves us with 9,000 left. So you still have a lot of room to put in like a Clay and put in like a Clay Grant Williams, or plug in an Otto Porter Jr. and put in a Clay and leave $500 on the table. A lot of ways to go, and I also think you can easily get to Robert Williams here, just based on the fantasy points that he can give you very quickly if he has another big game with the blocks and the steals, which is definitely something that is not going to be a shock if it happens again. And then even Derek White isn't the worst pick if we put him in. We're left with 9K, so you would be looking at a Boston stack if you put in Robert Williams here. But I'll probably maybe end up with like a Porter or a Grant Williams, and then put in probably Klay Thompson or Jordan Poole. But that's it for the video. Pretty easy to make a lineup on FanDuel with the pricing. You can always, Draymond's probably not going to be too popular, so if you're making a lot of teams, you can put him in some just based on the pricing. But this is what I got. If you're just making one lineup, probably start with these three for sure based on their pricing. Especially Smart looks just way too cheap. But best of luck today. Hopefully we get a good game. Hopefully you guys make some money. And I'll see you all next time.